Hi there. Today I'll give you an overview of the Social Security Disability Application, also known as Form SSA-16, and talk you through each section. You can download the Social Security Disability app on ssa.gov, or you can get a copy at your local SSA office. Before you start filling out the application, it's a good idea to gather all the information and documents and records you'll need, like your personal identification info, your medical records, and your W-2 forms for last year. Trust me, it's better to have all of this together before you start. And once you have all of that, pause this video, read through the application to get familiar with it, and then resume, and we'll go over the sections together line by line. Ready? Let's get started. Questions 1 to 3 are your basic identification information, your name, your social security number, and preferred language. Questions 4 through 7 go into a little more detail on your background. When and where were you born? Are you a US citizen? Or are you considered a legal alien? Have you gone by other names in your life? Have you used any other social security numbers? Once those basics are squared away, question 8 is where we get into medical history. The question says, when do you believe your conditions became severe enough to prevent you from working, even if you've never worked? If a specific incident, like an accident, impacted your ability to work, this answer might be obvious. Write down the date of the incident. But for many people, it's hard to pinpoint exactly when they became unable to work. If you have a chronic illness, complications from surgery, or a disease that's worsened over time, think back to when your symptoms started interfering with your job. Ideally, your work history and medical records will support your answer here. So if you lost a job because of your condition or were hospitalized, those dates often make sense to jot down. If you don't have a specific date, it's okay to share a month of the year. This question is important because if you're applying for SSDI, the date you became disabled impacts your back pay amount. Putting a more recent date than is accurate won't benefit you and could actually impact the size of your first check. Question 9 is really specific. Have you worked in the railroad industry? I know, that's a weird one if you're not familiar with it, but it's on the form because railroad employees have a separate railroad retirement program. You could just check no if this doesn't apply to you. Be sure to check yes if you worked for the railroad, if your spouse works for the railroad, or if you have an ex-spouse who worked for the railroad while you were married. Question 10, do you have Social Security credits under another country's Social Security system from living and working in another country? So if you've only worked and paid taxes in the US, the answer to this question is no. Question 11, do you have a pension or annuity? Teachers and government workers often receive pensions. So do folks in manufacturing, transportation, healthcare, and the military. You answer yes here if you'll receive a pension that didn't require you to pay into Social Security. If you answer yes, you need to list the month and year the pension or annuity payments started, or will start if they haven't yet. If you're uncertain whether you have a pension or annuity, you probably do not, but you can check past employment and financial records. If you don't have a pension or annuity, just answer no and keep moving. Question 12 is the big marriage question. Like retirement benefits, some people can claim Social Security disability based on their spouse's work history. If you've never been married, you check no on 12A. Move on to question 13. If you're currently married, provide your spouse's name and Social Security number in 12B. If you have previous marriages, 12C is where you'll provide the date and places of your marriages and information on who performed the weddings, like an officiant or a clergy person. Question 13, do you have children who can get benefits? Your children, including adopted children and stepchildren, may also qualify to receive benefits through your application if it's approved, but only if they are disabled or handicapped, or are under the age of 18, or are 18 or 19 but attending elementary or secondary school full-time. Your grandchildren may also qualify, but only if the child's biological parents are deceased or disabled, or the grandparent legally adopted the grandchild. Write the full legal names of qualifying children or grandchildren in the box. Leave blank if your dependents do not meet the criteria. Question 14 helps determine your technical eligibility for benefits. It's a two-parter. First, you'll have to write down if you've paid into Social Security taxes through your work between 1978 and today. You'll also have to write down any years you worked jobs that did not pay into Social Security, if any. This is rare, but some teachers, government workers, and nonprofit employees do not receive Social Security coverage. Question 15, brief work history. List the names and addresses of all employers you've had this year and last year. If you haven't been working, write none and move on to question 16. If you have been working, write the month and year when the work began and ended. If you currently have a job, write not ended for that one. Question 16. This question is geared towards self-employed folks, but whether or not you're a freelancer or run your own business, you'll have to complete this one. In Part A, you'll check yes or no. And in Part B, you'll list the dates and type of business you were self-employed in, like shopkeeper or event planner. A checkbox asks if you earned at least $400 from your self-employment last year. This refers to net earnings, which is your total self-employment income minus the business expenses. Question 17. Question 17 also has two parts. You'll write your total income from last year on line 17A and your total income so far this year on 17B. Include income from self-employment and any wages you earned from another employer. If you haven't earned any income, write none. This question will help the Social Security Administration determine your eligibility and how much you might be able to receive. Question 18. Here the SSA wants to investigate more about your condition and how it affects your ability to work. If you are unable to go back to work, check the yes box in 18A. Presumably, if you're watching this video, your condition makes it impossible for you to work. Question 19. This question asks if your injury, illness, or disability is related to your work. You'll check yes if a one-time event at work caused your condition, or if your condition is a long-term result from work, like if you developed a repetitive use injury, like back pain from a manufacturing job. Question 20. Here's another yes or no question. Check yes if you meet the SSA's definition of blindness, even while wearing glasses or contacts. Okay, so to be considered blind or low vision by the SSA, you must have central visual acuity for a distance of 20 of 200 or less in your better eye, with the use of a correcting lens or a visual field limitation in your better eye, such as the widest diameter of the visual field sublens, an angle no greater than 20 degrees. Question 21. If you're applying for other disability benefit programs in addition to SSDI, you'll note that here. Check the yes box if you've already applied for another program, like veterans benefits or workers' compensation, or plan to soon. Question 21 is also your opportunity to apply for SSI. Check off yes and check off supplemental security income in 21B. The SSA will then process your application for both disability programs simultaneously. So if you qualify for both programs, checking off this box is a great idea. There's a 5-month waiting period for SSDI benefits to kick in and a 2-year qualifying period for Medicare. SSI benefits begin immediately upon application approval. So having SSI benefits can be really helpful while waiting for a decision on your SSDI application. Question 22. For question 22, provide any income you received from an employer besides regular wages or self-employment wages after your disability onset. That's the date you wrote down in question 8. Other income sources might include sick pay, vacation pay, bonuses, or a legal settlement from a workplace injury. In 22A, you'll write down the payments you've received, and in 22B, you'll note pay that you expect to get. Use the remarks section to note what the payments were for. You might say, I received $800 of bonus pay from insert employer name. Questions 23 and 24 address if you've had to care for any dependents during a year when you had no income because of your condition. Your answers help the SSA assess your day-to-day abilities and capacity to do work. Now, it's really important to be truthful here, even if it's hard. If you have difficulty caring for your dependents, noting that in your application will help your case. If you're a caregiver but need additional assistance caring for children or elders, note your limitations and who helps you. It's also important to be clear about your level of functioning. If you say you spent a year taking care of a toddler on your own, the SSA could question whether your inability to work stems from your condition or if you just needed time off to provide childcare. Question 25. The final question on the application is about your eligibility for benefits through your caregiver. So if you've been unable to work because of your disability since before you were 22, and your caregiver is either deceased or receiving disability benefits, check yes. Enter your caregiver's name and social security number in the remarks section. All right, next steps. Congratulations on getting through that lengthy application. But don't get too excited though. You'll also need to complete Form SSA 3368, which is the disability report, as part of your initial application. And after you submit, the SSA will likely ask you to complete additional forms like the adult function report, the work history report, and maybe a pain questionnaire. So don't worry, Atticus can help with all of that too. So click on the link below to get started.